Glad to have you join us on the Midday News. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo's dispute with the People's Democratic Party has finally reached its peak with his departure from the party. Obasanjo, who spoke to newsmen in Abeokuta about his exit, also tore his membership card as a practical demonstration of his exit from the party. Olajumoke Olatunji was there and has more on the report.
Speculations have been rife over the continued presence of former President Olusegun Obasanjo in the PDP or if he's moving to the APC. But the former president, in his usual manner of dropping a major surprise, indeed made known his decision to leave the PDP. But unlike what many Nigerians have expected, he says he's leaving the PDP for what he termed as a lack of clear-cut direction and failure of leadership, but not for any other party, but rather to continue to play his role as a statesman.
I am no more a politician, I'm a statesman, both internally and externally.
He added that his role as a statesman from now on will be to work for the continued advancement of Nigeria and its people. With the exit of the former president from the People's Democratic Party now a reality, the Ogun State chapter of the party has also quickly moved to suspend him. But will this be the end of the saga? Only time will tell. Olajumoke Olatunji, CoreTV News, Abeokuta.
Meanwhile, the Ogun State chapter of the People's Democratic Party has now announced the expulsion of former President Olusegun Obasanjo from the party. The PDP's announcement came few hours after the former president dramatically announced his exit from the People's Democratic Party. His expulsion was announced by the state chairman of the party, Bayo Dayo.
On unabated anti-party activities, unbecoming of a highly celebrated party man engaged in by Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, the totality of the executive, leaders and members of the People's Democratic Party PDP family in Ogun State hereby state categorically, as from today, Monday, 16th of February 2015, Olusegun Aremu Obasanjo stands expelled and excommunicated from the party, thereby losing all rights, previous privileges, and respect of our teaming party members. Must no longer be seen from the prism of a PDP leader. Indeed, he seems to have lost all sense of proper behavior expected of a man who previously used and abused the opportunity provided him by PDP.
The chairman of the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party, Tony Anene, says the party leadership will not miss former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Anene, who spoke to journalists after a meeting of PDP leaders at the presidential villa, insists that it was within Obasanjo's right to leave the party. He, however, maintained that the party's fortunes would not be affected by the exit of the former president. Well, the defense headquarters also is saying that former President Olusegun Obasanjo is an embarrassment to the military. The defense headquarters made the comment in a statement posted on its Facebook page while reacting to a statement credited to the former president that the general elections were postponed to enable the president use the service chiefs for tenure extension in an electronic mail on Monday. The defense headquarters accused the former president of politicizing serious national security and military issues. They also say that while Obasanjo's intentions remained unclear, his motives for making such utterances were less than noble. The statement stressed that Obasanjo's claims were false. Well, as the political feud between the former president And President Goodluck Jonathan becomes more intense. Nigerians appear to be taking sides already, and of course this is dependent on their political interests. This was obvious when CoreTV News gauged the mood of residents of the Nigerian capital on the ongoing war of words. Helen Chukwuweke has more in this report presented from our studios.
And at this moment, no news item is as big as the political battle between former President Obasanjo and the incumbent. This is the situation at a major newsstand in the FCT. Passerbys who may not be aware of the norm here may misinterpret the confusion, arguments, and near fights as serious. This row is over claims and counterclaims between former President Olusegun Obasanjo and the presidency.
Obasanjo himself is a very, very confused human being. You understand? It's just the problem that we're having right now in this country. He has ruled this country. Let him just go and relax like an elder statesman. Today he will tell us that Jonathan is the best president. Tomorrow he will tell us that Jonathan is the most corrupt president. You understand? And which is not the right thing to say as a leader.
With his statement, it shows that the present president, President Goodluck Jonathan, does not have the masses in mind.
There are also others who see the whole row as an elite conspiracy.
I remember a serial Vanguard newspapers published last year. You know, his daughter, Iyabo, was quoted as saying, "Daddy, you don't own Nigeria." You know, and so Obasanjo don't own Nigeria.
What is happening? I saw Obasanjo today tearing his national PDP membership card. Now, what does that signify? Does that give me food? As you see me now, if I'm thirsty, tearing of his membership, does it satisfy me? Has I seen Obasanjo before? I don't know what does mean now. But many of the factions now will be killing themselves.
Obasanjo is wearing two faces. One, he remained in PDP. Now he's supporting APC. He's afraid just to be on the safer side in case Buhari wins. He could have given this power to Buhari when he was there. He didn't give it to him. Now he's asking somebody to do it. Buhari went to him almost 3 times in his house in Abeokuta and said, "This is my frustration. If truly you love APC, decamp. You have freedom of speech." He told Buhari clearly, "I'm a card-carrying member, yet he's supporting APC." You can see the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob.
Some of these people also have different positions on the political activities of President Jonathan and his mentor.
What Obasanjo is doing is virtually right, because he's an elder statesman. Despite the fact he's a member of PDP, he's an elder statesman who will everybody owe him a respect, whatever it is.
If Obasanjo is saying things that he feels that are not right, then there is law and order in this country. You should call Obasanjo to order if he thinks what Obasanjo is saying is not right than responding at the papers.
As the row between the two sides take a new twist with the decision of the former president to dump the party on whose platform he was twice elected president, it is certain that these issues would continue to dominate discourse at newsstands.
Following the exit of the former President Olusegun Obasanjo from the People's Democratic Party and his expulsion, which followed in quick succession, correspondent Olajumoke Olatunji x-rays the intrigues and issues that preceded the exit of the former president from the ruling party.
For a while now, speculations have been rife on whether or not the body language of former President Olusegun Obasanjo will be in favor of the PDP or the APC, or whether Obasanjo still remains with the party under whose platform he was elected president for 2 terms of 4 years each. Olusegun Obasanjo, a retired military general, became the president of Nigeria under the platform of the PDP between 1999 and 2007, after receiving the mandate to lead Nigeria out of military dictatorship with over 7 million votes, more than his opponents in the 1998 general elections, Olufalaye. He has since been in the eye of the storm either for his alleged obnoxious personality or his views on national issues. A particular low point was the alleged third-term agenda, which he vehemently denies having a hand in. He succeeded in installing the late Umar Musa Yar'Adua with Goodluck Jonathan, his deputy. He was a staunch supporter of Goodluck Jonathan on his inheritance of the presidency after Yar'Adua's demise in 2010, and was a major force behind his electoral victory in the 2011 general elections. But the centre seems to have collapsed after a series of speculations got to a head with the release of an 18-page letter by the former president, where he accused Jonathan of all sorts of infractions, including training of a killer squad and protecting individuals like Buruji Kashamo, whom he termed a criminal. But as the general elections drew near, Obasanjo and the PDP's hierarchy's war of words became fiercer before his eventual exit from the party, where he wielded so much power and influence and gave the nation the likes of Ayodele Fayose, Alao Akala, and the famous impeachment of governors by a minority in some state houses of assembly like Oyo, Plateau, and Bayelsa. The proverbial breaking of the camel's back seems to have been the events of the past weekend, where the ex-president accused the Jonathan-led administration of planning a seat-tight agenda and forcing a postponement of the general elections because he was afraid of losing. And as he alluded to in his speech before he directed the symbolic tearing of his party's membership card, the party planned to expel him, but he jumped before he was pushed. This brings to an end a tumultuous relationship between the ex-president and the Goodluck Jonathan administration. But the implications of this move, which was swiftly followed by an expulsion by a state chapter, will be felt in no time soon, with reactions already coming in thick and fast. Olajumoke Olatunji, CoreTV News.
Meanwhile, the Kaduna chapter of the All Progressives Congress has welcomed the decision of former President Olusegun Obasanjo to leave the People's Democratic Party. Chairman and a senatorial candidate for Zone 1, Sulaiman Uthman, said this shortly after a meeting in Kaduna. He noted that the fact that a highly respected figure in the country tore his PDP membership card should give any member of the ruling party cause for concern. The APC chieftain also urged the national leadership to take steps to bring in former President Obasanjo into the party fold as soon as possible. We'll take a break now, and I'll be back with more stories. Don't go away.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Welcome back. You can also get all of our top stories on any of our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/CoreTV News, and we're trending on Twitter as well at CoreTV News NG. You can now watch all of our programs and news live on YouTube. That's youtube.com/CoreTV, and News. The European Union Election Observation Mission has held the position of President Goodluck Jonathan on the May 29 handover date. Chief Election Observer of the mission, Santiago Fiaz, described it as a good move in the aftermath of the postponement of the elections by 6 weeks. Fiaz, who spoke with State House correspondents after meeting with President Goodluck Jonathan at the presidential villa, says he was impressed with the commitment of both sides to the electoral process. He said that he met with the presidential candidate of the APC, Muhammadu Buhari, twice, and the president to exchange views about the elections. The All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Organization has cautioned members of the National Assembly against taken any action that might affect the country's democracy has to resume plenary on Tuesday. The campaign team said in a statement by its spokesman, Garba Shehu, noted that federal lawmakers are returning at a time the country is passing through a phase of some surreptitious attempt to tamper with the sanctity of the election date and the handover date. He noted that commentaries from leading members of the PDP about a sinister plot to compromise the May 29 handover portends a great danger to the integrity of Nigeria's democracy. The party urged the National Assembly to stand resolute on general elections holding between March 28 and April 11 as scheduled, and also that the May 29 handover date remains sacrosanct. With 6 additional weeks to campaigning to the forthcoming elections, Muhammadu Buhari, presidential candidate for the APC, was welcomed to Maiduguri, Borno State by a massive crowd as a new phase of his rally tour of Nigeria began. Accompanied by several members of the APC, including Rotimi Amechi and Audu Ogbe, the governor of Borno State, Kashim Shettima, was also on hand to lend his support to the campaign party. Crowds lined the streets of Maiduguri, displayed trees with APC flag, and cheered Buhari as he made his way through the city. Many of the supporters ran after the cars, chanting the support for the candidate. He acknowledged the show of support during a speech, while also promising all displaced person that they will see a government genuinely concerned about their plight. And now to Oyo State, where the Independent National Electoral Commission has dismissed claims of having any unholy or sinister intentions with its partnership with the state chapter of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW. Our correspondent was with the resident electoral commissioner, and here's the details.
Of the Independent National Electoral Commission to use the State Council of the NURTW for election logistics did not come as a welcome development for most political parties in Oyo State for obvious reasons. According to this party's stalwarts, the Transport Workers Union in the state have a bad record and the bias for the ruling party, which will render the efforts of the state's INEC office to ensure a free and fair elections ineffective.
I believe here that all the major parties here, except one or its allies, will support that arrangement, because in Oyo State we know what the NURTW are doing. We know the party they are supporting. We know the party they are working for.
There's difference between the NURTW in that place and Oyo State.
Remove the issue of the leadership of NURTW completely. If you don't remove them, then I don't think we are planning to hold election in Oyo State, because they are the ones that will foment trouble, that will cause trouble.
For the State Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, Mojid Olaoya, the parties opposing the policy of INEC are just scared that their past will haunt them, adding that the NURTW of the current administration has been remodeled to be democratic and civil in all respect.
Past government, they have been making use of this union one way or the other to disturb the peace, to carry the ballot boxes, to smash people, to do this and that. You understand? That is the main reason why they are now saying that they don't want them.
Having listened to both sides of the divide, the State Resident Electoral Commissioner Rufus Akeju advised parties in opposition to address a letter to the National Electoral Body, who is in the best position to make any adjustment on the policy to partner with the transport union.
This is not election as usual. This is not INEC you used to know. If you don't know that by 2011, by now you should know. There are a lot of changes, my dear. Rigging, those who want to rig will commit suicide.
Asked if his party will be willing to go ahead with the elections on the assumption that INEC doesn't go back on its decision, the State Publicity Secretary of Accord, Nureni Adeniran, says that it will be unfair on the majority if the policy is not modified.
I have to let you know that my party is vehemently opposing that particular idea. We are not going to accept it.
With less than 6 weeks to the general elections, The state's Office of the Independent Electoral Commission has continued to assure Oyo residents of a free, fair, and credible poll. Omotayo CoreTV News, Ibadan.
Nigeria's military authorities say troops have cleared Mongono and its environs of insurgents. Defense headquarters said through its Twitter feed that soldiers took over the town from Boko Haram after a coordinated air and land assault. It said a number of insurgents operating around Baga were also captured during the military operation, alongside truckloads of food and logistics. The military added that the land and air assault is still ongoing, with soldiers advancing to other locations and communities meant to be cleared. An appeal court sitting in Abuja has upheld the judgment of the Election Petition Tribunal, which affirmed the election of Governor Ayodele Fayose as winner of the June 21 Ekiti governorship election. The tribunal had on December 19, 2014, upheld Fayose's victory and dismissed the petitions of the All Progressives Congress. In delivering judgment on the appeal, Justice Abdul Aboki held that the previous impeachment of the governor and his alleged forged certificate cannot nullify his election. The appeal court, however, faulted the deployment of soldiers on election duty. All the counsel in the suit bear their minds to journalists on the judgment.
And the appellant miserably failed to discharge that elementary burden of proof. Not only that, their lordships equally confirmed as a fact that this so-called alleged forgery of HND certificate had actually been resolved in an earlier case, in the case of AD against Fayose. In other words, that case raises what we call issue estoppel against the appellant. So hook, line, and sinker, Governor Fayose has been vindicated by this judgment. So as regards what their lordship said on the soldiers, that was by the way. It doesn't go to the root of this appeal. The main issue is impeachment a disqualifying factor? No. Did they prove forgery of certificate? No. The court held it so. And to that extent, we are delighted, we are excited about this judgment just delivered. In other words, the mandate of the people in Ekiti State, freely and voluntarily bestowed on Governor Fayose, has been upheld, it has been vindicated. All is well that ends well.
The court has delivered its judgment, and we commended them because it was an erudite decision, even though it is not every aspect that favored the appellant. But there are certain aspects which are fundamentally important to our democracy. For instance, they have declared as a legal deployment of military to conduct an election. They don't have any rule under the Constitution. They do not have any rule under even the Armed Forces Act. Therefore, that's a landmark to say in future elections, the army should not be deployed. Although we would have expected the court to go further to say, having found that the military was present everywhere during the conduct of election in Ekiti State, to have gone further to declare that election null and void. Nobody ought to have been returned winner of that election. But all the same, it was a commendable decision.
Our position has been vindicated, and our position is very straightforward. It had been ab initio that soldiers should not be made part of any political permutations. Soldiers, by their training and convention, are apolitical, and that was our position at the tribunal. And the Court of Appeal has upheld that position, that it was right for the tribunal to expunge the soldiers, and that is our position. Soldiers should be left alone to face their professional duties, which is the protection of the territorial integrity of our nation.
Outside Nigeria now, following the beheading of 21 hostages by ISIS, the Egyptian military is currently carrying out airstrikes against Islamic State militants. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi says his country reserved the right to punish murderers as he called the meeting of security chiefs and declared 7 days of mourning. Footage released by ISIS online shows 21 handcuffed hostages beheaded in a coastal area in the Libyan province of Tripoli. In the latest issue of ISIS online magazine Dabik, the group cites the same number of Egyptian hostages were being held in Libya. And that wraps it this hour. Do join us again at the top of the hour for more stories. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. Thanks for being there.